Good afternoon. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory here with your afternoon update. Today is a First Alert weather day with severe storms possible this afternoon and evening, including a threat of very heavy rain, damaging wind gusts, hail, and even some tornadoes. So let's just jump right in and we'll start with what's going on right now. Here in the tri-state, not a whole lot, but we do expect that to change over the next couple of hours. If we widen out the view, you can see we're sort of in between two different rounds of storms right now. We did have some storms move through overnight into this morning. We did have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings overnight around 2-3 a.m., but then we had just some scattered showers earlier this morning. All of that has now worked its way off to the east, and we've seen just in the past hour or two these storms beginning to fire over parts of Missouri, sort of in the boot heel there, down into Arkansas and stretching into parts of Mississippi and Tennessee. Here at home, still dry for now, but as these storms continue to develop, they'll then start to push eastward, and we are going to see a threat of severe weather across much of our region. There are tornado watches all around us right now, but none that actually include the tri-state. So there's a watch to our northwest over central Illinois and then stretching into parts of western Indiana. There is a watch across eastern Kentucky and Appalachia. That's from the storms that moved through earlier this morning that are now in parts to our east. But then the watch down to our southwest, that's the one where the storms are right now. And we expect those storms to then march eastward. And as they do, I think this watch will be expanded to the east, including much of Kentucky and Tennessee. Whether or not that will include the tri-state is yet to be seen, but we are expecting that watch to be expanded over the next couple of hours. So I think there's a good chance we'll at the very least see some parts of western Kentucky included in that watch, maybe other parts of the tri-state as well. So we'll just have to wait and see how these storms change and develop. But again, this is where the storms are right now, and then they're going to move to the east-northeast as we go through this afternoon and evening, which is why that's also how this big orange highlighted area of that level 3 risk is drawn. That's where the storms are starting, sort of on the western edge of that area of level 3 risk there. But then as they move to the east-northeast, this is the area at greatest risk of seeing severe storms as we go through the afternoon and evening. And again, the tri-state kind of on the northern end of that risk area. So we do have a level 2 risk for scattered severe storms across much of southeast Illinois and southwest Indiana. Then that level 3 risk that, again, as I just showed you, is a large risk area that includes most of the state of Kentucky and Tennessee, and then on into the deep south as well. That does include part of the tri-state, most of our western Kentucky counties highlighted in that level 3 risk for numerous severe storms as we go through this afternoon and evening. So now let's talk timing a little bit. We are expecting these storms to really kind of blow up off to our southwest and then move to the east-northeast. This is just one model's depiction of how things might play out. I do think this model is being a little bit aggressive with its timing. So to say that it'll be storming in the Evansville, Henderson, and Princeton areas by 4 o'clock may be a stretch. I think it'll be a little bit later than that, probably sometime between 4 and 5. But still, this gets across the general message that we are expecting these storms that are down in the boot heel of Missouri right now to continue to grow and expand and move to the east-northeast as we go through this afternoon and evening. So especially in western Kentucky, I do think we will see the possibility of some scattered severe storms through this afternoon and evening. And then those storms probably coming to an end, pushing off to the east by about 6, maybe 7 o'clock at the latest. It is possible some more isolated showers and storms may then develop later this evening into the overnight hours, but I'm not sure how much energy is going to be left at that point. It kind of depends on how the storms this afternoon play out. If most of them stay to our south, it's possible we could get some additional storms later this evening into the overnight hours. If we get pretty well worked over with storms this afternoon, I would expect little to nothing from that possible round of storms later tonight. So that's something we'll continue to watch. Again, each round of storms that happens then impacts the round of storms after it. So we won't really know until the storms this afternoon how exactly things will play out later tonight. But I think this afternoon is going to be the main risk. Again, that would be mainly from about 4 to 6 or 7 p.m. when we're seeing that main risk of severe thunderstorms this afternoon. Any rain we do see tonight will taper off pretty quickly once we get to about midnight or so, and then tomorrow is looking mostly sunny and dry. Here's a look at the individual threats. Notice the entire tri-state generally in a level 2 risk for flooding as well as for hail. The wind and tornado threat, that's where we see a little bit of a difference right along that division where we have the level 2 and then the level 3 risk overall. We see that same division with the wind and tornado threat as well. So a level 2 risk across most of southwest Indiana and southeast Illinois for wind and for tornadoes, but then a level 3 risk for wind and tornadoes across western Kentucky. And if you look very closely at the very bottom of this, let me take this full and see if you can see that a little more clearly. See right at the bottom of the tornado map there, as you get into Hopkins, Muhlenberg, and Ohio counties, there's those black bars over top of the map. That indicates a significant risk. So we're right on the far northern edge of that hatched area where they are highlighted there for the significant risk of tornadoes, which would include EF2 or greater. So we are monitoring that risk of severe storms, including the threat of damaging winds and tornadoes, especially in western Kentucky as we go through this afternoon and evening. This is just a different way to visualize that same information. Level 2 risk for flooding and for hail, and then a level 2 up to a level 3, mainly in western Kentucky, for damaging wind and for tornadoes. And that tornado risk does have the possibility of being significant tornadoes of EF2 or greater. Let's take a quick check-in of the comments here. I know we have lots of people concerned. Every time we have severe weather, the next round of storms, everyone is then sort of on edge. And after what happened in Morganfield on Friday, understandably, a lot of folks, especially in Kentucky, on edge about the risk of tornadoes again tonight. Yes, hopefully everybody's sort of expressing the same thing. Hopefully today won't be that bad. That's always our hope, but we want you to be prepared for the worst and hoping for the best just in case. Some folks are saying that they just got a notification that the tornado watch was just expanded and updated. So let's actually, we'll circle back around to that at the end here. I want to keep moving forward, and then we'll circle back around and see what that tornado watch looks like now. We were expecting it to be expanded, as I said, just any time. And so folks are getting that alert from their 14 First Alert app now that has been expanded to include parts of the tri-state now. I do want to give a quick mention of our temperatures, because that's going to be a big change on the backside of these storms. Right now it's very warm out there, upper 70s to low 80s. It's 80 degrees even right now in Evansville, and I think we may tack on a couple more degrees before those storms roll in this afternoon. Then our temperatures will start to fall back through the 70s as showers and storms move through the tri-state. Those rain chances come to an end pretty early in the night tonight, and our temperatures will then drop back into the upper 50s to right around 60. Okay, and there's Jeff Lyons with that information. Tornado watch until 10 p.m. for southwest Indiana and western Kentucky. So we will wrap around to that information in just a second. Tomorrow, the good news is, I know we've got a lot of graduations and things like that tomorrow. Tomorrow we're in the clear. Once the storms move through here tonight, cooler, drier air takes over. Wednesday is going to be mostly sunny, breezy, and cooler. So it may be a little bit breezy out there, but other than that, a fairly pleasant day with highs in the low to mid 70s on Wednesday. And then that cooler weather actually hangs around for a while. Typically this time of year, our highs would be in the upper 70s. Instead, we're talking upper 60s to low 70s. So running about 10 degrees cooler than normal from Thursday all the way into Memorial Day weekend. And we also see rain chances moving back in as we get into Memorial Day weekend. So maybe a stray shower Thursday. Other than that, once we get through tonight, the rest of this week really looking dry. The weekend, though, and into the holiday weekend there, not so sure about our rain chances there. There will be a low pressure system off to the west, and it starts to push some isolated rain chances our way on Saturday. Better chances of rain Sunday and into Monday, Memorial Day, as this low pressure system slides just to the south of the tri-state. But because that low is going to stay to our south, we never get wrapped up into the warm sector of that system, which means a couple different things. One, I don't really see a threat of severe weather. It's going to be just kind of cool, cloudy with scattered rain. We may get a few rumbles of thunder, but I'm not anticipating severe weather over Memorial Day weekend, so that's good news. But that also means we're never really going to warm up. I know a lot of folks look forward to, opening the pools and things like that on Memorial Day weekend. Doesn't look like it's going to be great pool weather. It's going to be mostly cloudy, scattered rain, highs only in the upper 60s to low 70s. So what's kind of considered the unofficial start to summer may be feeling much more like spring as we go through the holiday weekend. All right, let's wrap back around to the top here with that watch information, because I mentioned that before. We do have these storms firing up off to the southwest here, and as those continue to move to the east-northeast, we're now seeing that tornado watch expanded. So let's see, that has loaded in there now. So we've got, initially this is where the watch was. They've now expanded it to reach up into the tri-state. I'm guessing this little gap here maybe just hasn't loaded in yet. There it starts to fall into line there. And then most of Tennessee also under that tornado watch. So if we take a closer look here at home, you can see the majority of the tri-state now included in that tornado watch until 10 p.m. And again, that is because we are expecting these storms that are currently firing up out around the boot heel of Missouri to then expand and develop off to the northeast as we go through this afternoon and evening and then move through the tri-state. So we will probably see some scattered severe storms here, mainly from about 4 to 6 or 7 o'clock this evening. So keep that in mind if you're going to be out and about during that time frame. You want to make sure you have your 14 First Alert app, some way to receive warnings, get weather information, be paying close attention so that you know if you need to move into a safer place there. But then once we get through this evening, while there is an isolated chance of showers or storms tonight, I really think later this afternoon and evening is our main risk of any severe storms. And then the last of that rain tapers off tonight, and tomorrow, like I said, we are in the clear with mostly sunny, cooler, and breezy conditions. So I know there are a few graduations happening tonight. There's a lot of them tomorrow. So tomorrow in the clear for most of those. Hopefully any graduations that are happening this evening have already been moved indoors. Pretty quiet weather then through the end of this week with some scattered showers and maybe a few thunderstorms, but nothing severe expected for Memorial Day weekend. Let's take one more look at the questions and comments here. A lot of folks commenting in about that tornado watch expansion. Yes. Some folks asking about specific locations and asking how this compares to Friday. Friday, we were at a level 4 risk across the tri-state, so this risk level is not quite that high, but still certainly concerning, especially across western Kentucky. For those of you asking about the risk level in individual locations, notice we're at a level 2 risk. So severe storms still certainly possible, but not as likely across southeast Illinois and southwestern Indiana. As you get down to around the Ohio River and south, so generally talking western Kentucky at that point, that's where we've got that level 3 risk for numerous severe storms. So again, the risk level not quite as high as where we were at on Friday, but severe storms, including that threat of tornadoes, all certainly possible as we go through this afternoon and evening. And I'll give you one more look at the individual risks here as well. So a level 2 risk for flooding and for hail. Then the tri-state sort of divided at that same line I was just showing you with a level 2 risk for wind and tornadoes across Indiana and Illinois, but then that goes up to a level 3 risk across western Kentucky, both for wind and for tornadoes. So damaging wind gusts and tornadoes, both very possible across the tri-state this evening, but especially in western Kentucky. And the farther south you go, as you get into Hopkins, Muhlenberg, and Ohio counties, those areas are highlighted as having a significant tornado risk, meaning EF2 or greater. So again, folks chiming in that they got their tornado watch either on their weather radio or their First Alert app. Glad to hear that. Again, hopefully for those of you asking about individual locations, this kind of answers your question. I know we had some folks from Indiana asking. You folks are all at that level 2 risk for all 4 hazards there. We have some folks in here from Madisonville and Dawson Springs. You're in that elevated risk there where there's that better chance of seeing severe storms, including damaging wind gusts and tornadoes, possibly even large significant tornadoes of EF2 or greater. So certainly Hopkins County, be very alert as we go through the rest of this afternoon and evening. And yeah, some folks talking about graduations and things like that, really hoping that any of those have already been sort of preemptively moved inside just for that chance of severe weather. And again, Owensboro included in the risk with the rest of western Kentucky sitting at that level 2 risk for flooding and hail, but a level 3 out of 5 risk for wind and tornadoes with the greatest chance south of Owensboro. So hopefully that answers everyone's questions. Again, the timing for this starting here in the next couple of hours. Here, actually, let me bring it back up the radar just to give you another view. Again, the timing for this the next couple of hours as we do have storms firing up all across the boot heel of Missouri down into Arkansas and moving to the east-northeast. So really these tornadoes here, if we can zoom in a little tighter here, these are tornadoes, storms is what I meant to say. These storms here in the boot heel of Missouri, that's really what we're focusing on as those are going to continue to grow and expand and move to the northeast. So that's what's headed our direction. So they're still down in Missouri, southwest of Paducah right now. We've still got a little bit of time before they get to us, but probably by about 4 to 5 o'clock, we'll really be tracking those storms here in the tri-state. But it looks like they're going to move through pretty quickly, and by about 6 or 7 o'clock, most of this is going to be over. So I'd say from about 4 to 7 p.m. is when you really need to be paying attention to the weather and on alert, especially if you are in western Kentucky, as that's where we seem to have the greatest risk. But we could see more storms continuing to develop to the north here, and those could reach into Illinois and Indiana as well. So we will continue to monitor this. Jeff Lyons and I are both here. We're going to be here through this entire event. And we obviously have Michael Fecka and Byron Douglas on standby if things get really hairy and we end up needing the whole team. But once we get through this evening, really fairly quiet then through the rest of the week. So for those of you who have graduations Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, weather looking cooler but fairly quiet. Keep in mind though, if you do have any Memorial Day weekend plans, not looking like the hot sunny weather you may expect for Memorial Day. It's going to be about 10 degrees cooler than average, and there is that chance of scattered showers, maybe even a few thunderstorms, although severe weather is not expected at this time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said, Jeff Lyons and I will be here throughout this evening tracking these storms, and you should be able to get those alerts on your 14 First Alert app if a warning is issued for your location, and we will be breaking in over 14 News, WFIE, throughout the evening as needed to bring those First Alert weather updates. So keep your TV tuned to 14 News, have your 14 First Alert app handy, and you should be covered. And if you've forgotten since Friday, go ahead and refresh on where your safe place would be and things like that, just in case you do need it this evening. Again, I didn't go over a whole lot of the safety stuff because we just did this a couple days ago and we're sort of right back into it. But again, make sure you know where your safe place is, make sure it is clean and accessible for your entire family. And if you do have to seek shelter, remember to throw on a pair of shoes and grab something to cover your head to keep yourself protected. All right, I'm going to wrap this up now and we'll go keep tracking these storms, and I hope that everybody stays safe tonight, stay informed, stay alert, and we'll bring you updates as needed.